If you ever tried to work out without warming up, you could 100% be sure that the session is not gonna be that good. Okay, so I want to talk to you guys today about warm-ups. A really common thing that I often see with warm-ups is either one of those two. Even if it's someone with a really high training age, I can still see some guys coming into the gym, absolutely no warm-up, smashing on 3 plates on the bench with no prior priming or warming up whatsoever, and they just start their working sets. I absolutely do not recommend anything like that. And there is the second one, which is the exact opposite pole. It's people that structure their warm-ups exactly like it's a freaking workout. We do not want another workout into the workout, okay? So do not be at any of the ends. Do not be the guy that does absolutely no warm-up, and do not be the guy that does a freaking workout instead of just warming up for 15 minutes. Why do we even warm up prior to a workout? So the main goal of a warm-up is to prime your body both physically and mentally for the upcoming effort. So it's like a preparation phase for your body to get ready to lift some heavy ass weight. If we go into the gym with absolutely no warm-up, you will definitely feel a bit weird, and I challenge you to go try both approaches, warming up prior and no warm-up, and see the difference for yourself. Nonetheless, it is extremely risky for someone that moves a lot of weight to go in without a proper warm-up before. So, warm-ups. What are they? They are a tool for you to get ready for the workout that's going to happen in the next 20 minutes or so. A warm-up should not be something extremely long, should not be something that is totally neglected. So whenever we talk about a warm-up, it's something that can be highly personalized, can be played with, and depending on whether you have joint or mobility limitations, you can address some of those things into the warm-up as well. And I'll explain to you how in the next minutes. First of all, a warm-up can have 3 phases, if you want to call it like that. The first one, it's, in my opinion, optional. So if you want to do it, if you feel like it gets you even better warmed up, if you feel good after it, go and do it. The first one is the cardiovascular phase. So for 5 to maximum 10 minutes, you hop on a piece of equipment that is cardio, either a bike or a treadmill, depending what you like, depending on if you train legs, upper, depending what you like, even ellipticals, where you have also some movement from the arms, a bit of pushing and pulling, which is pretty light. So in this phase, what you want to do is basically elevate your heart rate a bit, raise your body's temperature so that you get it prepared, just make the blood flow a little bit better, and achieve a little bit of a sweat. Also your respiratory frequency will also rise. What you should consider when doing those type of things is that you should hop on the equipment and gradually increase the intensity up to something like RP 6 to 7. Not hard, not easy, but light to moderate effort. How should you monitor the intensity of this cardio effort? So it's pretty easy. You should do it based on your heart rate, and 99% of the cardio machines in a gym have heart rate monitors, which work pretty good. So if you want to do your intensity based on that, you can do it very easily. So first of all, you need to calculate your heart rate max, which is 220 minus your age, and that's your heart rate max. Now we want to take 60 to maybe 70 maximum percent of that value, and we want to achieve that heart rate during this cardiovascular phase of the warm-up. You hop on the bike, you constantly monitor your heart rate until it reaches 60-70% of that value, and you keep it there for 5 minutes also. The goal of this is, again, not to get you tired, it's just to get your blood flowing more efficiently, to raise your body temperature. I usually like to do a bike because it's very comfortable for me. This one specifically doesn't really have the heart rate monitor, but if you don't have a heart rate monitor, you can base your intensity on a RPE scale. What does that mean? RPE stands for rate of perceived exertion. So it's a grade from 1 to 10. There's different scales, but we'll take the modified one from 1 to 10. And you basically give a grade to the effort that you are perceiving right now. So if the effort that I'm doing right now is absolutely 0, I'll grade it 1, okay? Then as I'm progressing in intensity, it gets harder, it gets more difficult, the grade will raise. And when doing it on a bike or on a treadmill, you want to get, again, as I've said earlier, to a maximum of a RPE of 6 to 7. So it's moderate intensity, light to moderate intensity. You should keep it at a conversational level. So you should be able to keep a nice conversation while doing it. This is also the phase where you can put on some nice music, get you hyped up for the next steps of the warm-up and then for the actual workout as well. So don't neglect it. It's something that is really good to do, but it's not mandatory. I personally do not really do it. Maybe on some leg days when I feel rusty, I feel that something is not 100% working, I'll hop onto the bike and I get warmed up pretty well. In case you never knew how to set up a bike, how high the seat should be or not, it's pretty simple. You basically stand near it, and then based on where your center of the hip joint is, that's where you want your seat to be. So for example, this height for me, it should be appropriate, and then when I hop on, you can further adjust it or not depending on the length of your leg segments. So this is just a general advice. It might be appropriate or not depending on who you are and how long your femur and your tibia is. Yeah, on the treadmill, everything applies to the treadmill as well as onto the bike, but you've got no setups to do. And on the elliptical, again, no setup to do, just hop onto the machine and make sure to stay in the heart rate intervals that I've mentioned. The second phase is the general mobilization one, which it's something that I always do, and this one is not optional from my perspective. It's when you take your whole body from head to toe, you take absolutely every single joint that you have and you mobilize it through different movements. So for example, I'll take my shoulder first, I'll do arm circles, arm rotations, forwards, backwards, depending on what you like. Personalize it, do full ranges of motion, so take your shoulder through the whole range of motion to mobilize it properly. Then take your elbows and do circles, rotations, whatever you like, it doesn't really matter. Just make sure to mobilize absolutely every single joint in your body. Even if it's a lower body session, you should still mobilize your upper body as well, because it will be involved in some of the exercises. Just do trunk rotations, do hip circles, rotations, however you want to call them. Do dynamic stretches like, I'm not sure how you call those, kicks or something. Do them laterally, frontal, play with the planes, do every single movement that you know and makes you feel good. Do dynamic stretches like here, just to mobilize absolutely everything. Even ankle rotations, absolutely basic things that you were doing in PE school at physical education that are really basic and that work. Okay, stretches, dynamic ones, very important. Never do static stretching before a workout, a gym-based one, because static stretching inhibits your ability to produce force. So if you're gonna do static stretching, you will sacrifice a bit of your strength. Don't do that. Do it at the end of the workout if you want to, but there's no real proven benefit of doing it anyways. So just stick to the dynamic stretching prior to the session. The next phase would be the actual specific warm-ups. Depending on what you train, this will look differently or not. You have the exercise. Okay, we'll take the bench press, the most popular exercise in existence, and I'll try and exemplify you how to warm up properly to it. You will go through some warm-up sets, and depending on how strong or weak you are, there may be more sets, there may be less sets. This depends from individual to individual. The thing is that you don't want to get into the gym, and even if you've done the cardiovascular phase and then the joint mobilization one, you don't want to slap on 100 kilos onto the bar and start repping it. No, you want to do it steadily, increase the weight gradually until you are fully warmed up and able, again, physically and mentally and physically, to lift that heavy weight for your working sets. So let's say I have a working weight of 100 kilos and I want to achieve sets of 6 to 8 with it. I'm not gonna go onto the bench and load the 100 from the first instance. No, I'm gonna do some warm-up sets or feeder sets or however you want to call them. The name doesn't really matter. The idea is to get up to that weight gradually. Okay, I'll do a set with the empty bar, high reps, low load. Just go through the motion, make sure that everything is all right, form is on point. You should focus on those warm-up sets exactly like you do to a working set, so they are of same importance. Okay, don't rush them, don't neglect them. Do them exactly as if you were doing the actual working set with 100 kilos. You'll take the empty bar, for example. You'll do it for 10 reps, 12 reps, 15 reps, depending on how you feel. If you feel more rusty today, you can do more reps, you can do them slower, faster, it doesn't matter. Just go through the full range of motion, do it correctly, and then take a bit of rest. Not much, because we don't want to waste time with the warm-ups, and they shouldn't be tiring anyways. So give it 30 seconds rest until you load up a bit the bar. You'll take 50 kilos, for example, for the next set, and you'll lower the reps. You'll go for 6 to 8 maximum. You'll hop on the bench, do the 6 to 8 reps, then rest again for 30 seconds to 1 minute maximum until you load it again to a weight that is closer to the actual working weight. So for example, I'll go to, depending on how I felt, I'll go to 80 directly, or maybe 85, or maybe I was not that confident with 50, how it moved. It felt a bit weird, depending on the day. And I'll take only 70 kilos, and I'll take that for another couple of reps. 4 reps, 5 reps, maybe I need 6 reps. Depending on how you feel, you can auto-regulate this thing, and again, personalize it. The idea is that you need to feel primed before hopping onto the working weight. You need to be 100% sure that you are 100% ready for that working set, and that you don't feel anything weird. Then I'll do a really close to the working weight. I'll choose a weight very close to the working weight, 90% of that maybe. As I've said, 85 kilos, 90 kilos. I'll do them for 2-3 reps just to feel the weight, just to see how I am on the day. And then I can continue my workout. This is how I view a warm-up should be structured. And then of course there are some little extra details that we could discuss. When I do something with my athletes, for example, not necessarily the gym-based warm-up, but the court workouts. When I do the handball warm-ups, for example, prior to a handball training, we do something in strength and conditioning that is called a ramp warm-up protocol. So what this stands for, the ramp, is raise, activate and mobilize, and then potentiate. So we can actually take some of the info and some of this structure into our gym-based workouts as well. So the raise one is the equivalent of the cardiovascular phase, where we raise the heartbeat, the body temperature, so on. The activate and mobilize are the equivalent of the warm-up sets that we are doing prior to the working sets, or could be some little body weight exercises, not necessarily only body weight. They could be either with a resistance band as well. They're an extremely good tool to do your warm-ups. It doesn't have to be a high resistance one. Should be a light one so that you can do absolutely everything. And as an example, you can do many things with it. And depending whether you do an upper body session, a lower body or a full body, it doesn't matter. Depending on what body parts you want to warm up, you can do absolutely everything with one of those. So for example, just a couple of exercises that you could do. Some band pull aparts. You can do this to warm up your posterior deltoid, to warm up your shoulder. I'm not sure if I'm framed okay into the camera. You could do this. You could do some overhead pressing, putting the resistance band over here and just pressing overhead while keeping a neutral spine, core braced, ass, cheeks close to each other. Here we press over the head so that again we warm up the shoulder. You could do some bicep curls pretty basically just to warm up the elbow. You could do elbow extension for the tricep. You can do absolutely everything. You can even squat with it. You'll put some resistance over here if bodyweight squats are too easy, and you can squat with it so you have a more constant tension throughout the movement. You could do bodyweight squats. You could do bodyweight lunges, walking lunges, whatever suits you and whatever you feel that warms you up. Okay, so this is where you can personalize your warm-ups to whatever you like. And also, you could also use some light dumbbells, for example. This is the approach that I normally use because I don't want to carry a resistance band with me. You can have a really light pair of dumbbells, and depending on, let's say I'll do a back day today, I'll just start rowing this lightweight, proper form, just do a couple of dumbbell rows just to get warmed up. Okay, let's say I'll do a shoulder session, or even for back, I'll do a set of really light lateral raises just to warm up my shoulder joints. You can do shrugs, you can do bicep curls, you can do absolutely anything you want with them. Personalize it, just do it so that you are primed, okay? This would act like the activate and mobilize phase, more like the activate one. The thing with the word activate is that you are not properly activating a muscle. So there's no activating or deactivating a muscle. As long as you can move that muscle, you can shorten it, contract it, and lengthen it, the muscle is active, okay? They can never be deactivated. If your bicep was deactivated, you could not do the flexion of the forearm on the humerus, okay? They are always active, you just get them warmed up. You get some blood flowing to the muscle and you warm up the joints that are implied into that movement. So it's not proper activation, it's just getting warm up the muscles itself and the joints. And again, you cannot deactivate a muscle. They're always active. They are always awake and they are always there to move your segments. And then the potentiate phase, that's a little bit different when we talk about strength and conditioning, but something similar would be the really close to working weight sets of warm-up. So something that will potentiate your actual working sets will be the warm-up sets prior to that with the really close weight. I hope I make sense. So if I do the set with 90 kgs on the bench press and my working set is with 100, that's where I potentiate my ability to produce force in that movement and I further get warmed up. I think that's pretty much it. I personally do the general mobilization phase all the time, no matter how I feel. I take from head to toe absolutely every single joint and do some kind of movements for it. Then I'll take some light dumbbells, and depending on what I train, I will do some movements specific to that training session as I've exemplified before. Then I'll do the warm-up sets. I consider this part to be the most important one. So let's say hypothetically you have no time to warm up, but I hope you do, you should have. I'd rather you do the warm-up sets rather than doing the cardiovascular phase and then hopping into the 100 kg bench. No, I prefer you to do the gradual increments in bench, in the weight of the bench before doing the working sets rather than doing only the cardiovascular phase or only the mobilization phase. So that's why I consider this one to be the most important one, because it gradually introduces you to the effort that you are really going to push through. Of course, you should not do warm-up sets to every single exercise of the session, because that would be a waste of time and it would be just junk volume. But for the first exercise is kind of mandatory, and then depending on how you feel and what movements you do and what pattern of movements you choose in your exercise selection, it depends. So I need a more specific context to tell you to do something or not. But if you do totally opposite movement patterns, you could do some warm-up sets. So let's say I do a full body split, and my workout for today is a full body session starting with squats. I will do my warm-up sets in squats, and then my second exercise is bench press. I'm not gonna hop on to the working set of bench press just because I did my warm-up sets into the squat. I'll do some warm-up to warm up the upper body as well. Again, if you get what I'm trying to say here. I hope it makes sense. And yeah, that's pretty much it when it comes to a warm-up. Actually, there is something else that we could address. I think I've mentioned earlier that some people may have mobility limitations or injuries that could be addressed prior to a session, so that you get warmed up even better for the injured muscle group or the injured site location. So for example, let's say something extremely common that I observe in the gyms is limited ankle mobility. So as part of my warm-up, I could do one or maybe two ankle mobility drills so that I address this problem, first of all, and that I get proper preparation to that specific location prior to the actual workout. And this, on the short term, it might really improve the, let's say, precision of the workout. Your immediate squat sets after doing a ankle mobility drill will be 10 times better, so the gains will be better, both in strength and both in muscular development. So this is another thing that could be addressed, doing some, let's say, physio work prior to the actual training. But again, the most important thing with a warm-up is that it gets you prepared to the session. It does not make you tired. It does not limit your ability to produce force and to further push weight into the session. So it should be something that is pretty light in terms of intensity. You just need to get a little bit of sweat, maybe a little pump from it, and you are ready to go. Make sure that you are 100% focused on them as well, because this will help in achieving greater levels of precision in your workout again. And yeah, the duration of a warm-up should not be more than 20 minutes at max if you have injuries and limitations in your joints. So don't transform it into a 40-minute separate workout. Go into the gym, make sure to warm up, yeah, do it fun, do it all the time, and don't neglect it. So don't be that dude that enters the gym and slaps on hundreds of kilos on the leg press and starts working out without no preparation at all. But don't be the other guy that does a full physiotherapy session prior to the workout, unless you are injured, of course, or you have some specific goals, which I don't know at the moment. But if you are just trying to have a nice, good resistance-based workout, don't transform the warm-up into a separate workout. Another thing that I do is body weight exercises, for example. So prior to every single upper body workout that I do, I just do a nice set of push-ups, for example. I feel like I really get warmed up and primed when doing them, especially in my shoulders, elbows. I feel my pecs contracting, my triceps working, my shoulders, and it feels overall great. And something interesting that I have noticed in the last few months, I mean, it was there all the time, but I've just realized it. Depending on how heavy or how easy I feel the push-ups that I do prior to the actual workout in my warm-up routine, I can pretty accurately predict if I can load myself a lot in that day or if the workout is not going to be that great. It's not 100% working all the time, but it's a pretty strong predictor of my strength levels in that day. So you could also find a movement, a similar one, that gets you warmed up and that can predict your strength levels for the day. A warm-up has one single purpose: to prepare you to perform. You can even say that a warm-up is like a bridge between rest and performance. So if I want to make a car analogy, as I always do, is exactly like when your engine temperature is low. If you've got a cold engine, you never redline it in order to protect the engine. Yes, you could get away with doing it a few times, but at some point the parts will start to fail. So that's exactly what may happen with your joints, for example, and your muscles. You could get strains, you can pull a muscle, you can destroy and obliterate one of your joints. So you could get away with not warming up for a few sessions, but after months of doing this, years or even weeks, something bad could happen. And I've noted down some really common mistakes that happen when designing or structuring your warm-up routine. It's either too much volume before the actual working sets that might be classified as junk volume. You don't need 300 sets in order to get warmed up. You only need 2 or 3 good sets to prime you up for a movement. Also is turning warm up into cardio. I've seen a lot of even dudes, but it's more common into female athletes or female gym goers to do a whole cardio session prior to the actual resistance-based training, which is absolutely wrong. It will destroy your upcoming performance with the weights. So don't do that, please. Do not transform them into a cardio session. That should be done separately, or in the best case, if you cannot do it at separate time intervals, it should be done after you working out with weights. Then doing the static stretching, exactly how I mentioned before. Never do static stretching before because it inhibits your ability to produce force. How I normally view this is, if you are tired prior to even doing your first set, the real one, that you failed your warm-up basically. Okay, that was not a proper warm-up, it just got you tired and your workout will be affected. The increased muscle temperature has been shown to increase the power output and the force production ability. And then the gradually exposing a muscle to a load has been also shown to make more efficient the multi-unit recruitment. So those feeder sets or warm-up sets, however you want to call them, do exactly this. They don't shock your receptors into the muscle, the load receptors. They gradually expose them to that so that you get a better multi-unit recruitment. The whole idea is to keep it extremely simple, don't overdo it, and play with it. Personalize it, make it your own, and that's it. That's what I've wanted to cover in this video, and hopefully you found it helpful. And don't skip your warm-ups. I'll see you into the next one.